Welcome to the Thoughtful Gay Southerner, and I'm your host, Alan. And if you're anything like me, food is an important part of your culture. It's part of who you are. And I want to talk about something a little more serious. And I find that if you're distracted by doing something else, it makes the difficult conversation easier. It's part of the reason why people share intimate secrets over cards or a beer or a pipe, because I do smoke a tobacco pipe every once in a while. So there's these things that people do, there's sort of intermediary activities. And for me, the intermediary activity often is cooking, especially familiar recipes that I can do without referring to the recipe every 30 seconds. And one of my favorites of late is quiche. And it's delicious and it's not hard or not difficult. It's also not hard. It's very nice and smooth and moist. And the difficult conversation that this is going to be an intermediary for is how to come out. Because hopefully, if that's something that you're needing to do, that you know that. And that if you're gay and you want to come out, one of the things to bear in mind is there are a lot of people who've been in your situation. There are a lot of people that have struggled and continue to struggle with the process of coming out. And the initial process is often the most difficult because the people that are closest to us are the people we often come out to first. So as a result, those are the relationships that can alter the course of your life, quite literally. Because friends come and go and things like that, but family is forever, and they're usually where one starts. If you have a few friends in your friend group that you know are going to be okay with you telling them, then you might practice on them. But the rubber meets the road when it comes time to tell your family. And it depends on who your family is. It could be a parent or parents if they're still together, or siblings or grandparent, whomever you consider to be your family that you're going to be coming out to. So now you've made the decision that you're going to do it. The question then becomes, how? How do I come out? How do I do this? Now I'm making a pie crust. So what you do is you take measuring cup, flour, and you measure it out. And you want to I usually find 1.25 cups is sufficient. And I toss that over there because I like a clean kitchen. So you've made the decision that you are going to come out to your mother, your father, your whomever. Where do you go? What do you do? The first thing you want to do is decide who to tell first. And if you're living at home, if you're a teenager who's still dependent on your parents for food and shelter, the risk is high. It truly is, and I do not envy you that. So one of the things that I would suggest, and this again purely a suggestion, is find a few friends that you know that you think would be good about it and talk to them and find out. Not just them, but their parents. Because a lot of the reality is that a lot of gay youth end up homeless as a result of coming out. And it's horrible and it's despicable and just boils my blood. But it's true. And I have seen reputable sources saying upwards of 40% of homeless youth are due to sexual orientation. That could be high, I don't know. I'm not a demographer. But even if it's only half true, and it's 20%, that seems excessive. So it doesn't go well for everyone. And so I certainly hope and I pray that that is never ever going to be you or anyone you care about. But the reason I'm suggesting that you talk to your friends and your friends' family first of all, it's a practice run. It's a chance to talk to them and see how this is going to go. So what you do for the crust, you measure out your flour, you sprinkle in a little salt, you cut your butter, and you just you literally cut your butter right into the crust. So when you talk to your friends and your friends' families, ask them if this isn't warmly received, can I stay with you for a few days while things cool off? Certainly not ideal. Hopefully that you can stay with your parents and talk it out. But having a safe place to go, having somewhere that you can be sure that you will be safe is key. And if you're in the very unenviable category of having a family situation in which that may or may not be the case, pre-make other arrangements, please. Because you don't want to have nowhere to go, and you don't want to be in a blind panic and not know what to do. So just talk to your friends and talk to your friends' families and see and if they say yes, then that at least gives you the confidence that if it doesn't go well, you have somewhere to go. And my guess is that your family probably won't really go that far. Some do, I'm aware of that, and I know people that have had that happen to them. But fortunately, it's not common. It's not common. But it's likely to be awkward. There's likely to be tears. Things might be said that they will later wish they hadn't said, and that you wish you hadn't said. Speaking from personal experience here. But hopefully it will blow over. And once the rawness of the initial emotion dies down, they'll start to see who you are and what you've done. And in that seeing, they'll realize their mistake, and that they will invite you back into their lives. And that you will invite them back into your life, because it's a two-way street. So having that safety net, so to speak, will help you not chicken out. Because I cannot tell you, I would have come out years before I did if I hadn't chickened out. But the whole prospect of it was terrifying. And being from a rural area in the deep, deep south of a small town in a farming community in South Carolina, there weren't gay people, at least not that I knew. And there were a few, I can't say they were not, there were a few in my high school. But they were way more courageous than I was. They were way more outspoken. I don't have the world's greatest or the world's strongest personality. I'm a beta. I know that. I just am. And they weren't. They were just out and proud. I mean, one guy brought a purse and wore a purse. I mean, it was literally a pocketbook. And people didn't bother him. And that was what really astonished me. Was the people didn't bother. They just left him alone. He did his thing, but I wished I could have done that. I just do, but I just didn't. I wasn't there yet. So having that safety net will help you not chicken out. It will help you have that confidence that if your parents or your siblings or whomever it is you're coming out to need some time to process, need some time to think about it, you're not there as this source of the problem. So just, if it gets, now stick it out as long as you can. Please don't just spit it out and run, because that's not helpful. So what I suggest is that you sit them down once you've made these other arrangements, just as plan B, C, and D, that you sit them down. And you talk to them, and you make it clear to them, whatever words you want to use, make it clear to them that you love them, and that they are your family, and that you respect them, and that you will always be there for them. Because it's important that they know that. It is critically important that they know that you're coming out to them is coming from a place of love. It's not coming out of spite. It's not coming out of a desire to hurt them or spite them for some perceived wrong in the past, because it's not, or at least it shouldn't be. So having that, once you set them down, just tell them that. Just say, and apologize, and say, I'm sorry it took me so long to get up the courage to tell you this. And the reason I encourage you to make that part clear is because if these people have known you all their lives, chances are pretty good. They may not express it, but they may, in some little degree, feel deceived and betrayed. Because you've been hiding this rather integral part of who you are from them for so long that it can kind of seem a little bit like a betrayal. And so if you couch it in these terms of love, and couch it in this way of, I want our relationship to be better, that helps break some of that down a little bit. And it helps the message be a little bit more palatable to them. So, and like I said, if you're in that situation, I don't envy you. But please also, if you're in such a situation, I'm going to put a little bit of water in this to kind of help it hold together. If you're in the situation, it's important that you not do anything drastic. Because I know people who have hurt themselves very seriously as an alternate course to coming out. And I do mean up to killing themselves. So please, please do not do that. Just don't. And I won't give you any of the cliches that go with it. Just if you do that, darkness wins. Evil, however you perceive that, has won. And confound it, we don't want that. Because the gay community and your family depends on your voice. It depends on you speaking out, being yourself, letting others see who you are, and arrive at their own conclusions. And if you silence yourself by whatever means, then you are robbing the world. You're robbing your family, and you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to get to know you and to continue to express their love for you. You're robbing them of that. So please don't do that. Instead, find the courage. However you do that, if it's through prayer, if it's through meditation, if it's through music or poetry, whatever source you have in your life for that type of strength, access it. Because you're going to need it. So once you've got people satted down is not even a word. Once you have people seated, just tell them. Just open up your heart and tell them how much you love them, how much you respect them and admire them, however you feel they would respond best. And then just sit there. Don't just babble, because I babble, I know. But don't just babble. Just give them a moment. Look them in the eye. And once you've said your piece, so to speak, let them have a moment. You don't have to leave. No. In fact, don't leave. Just stay there. And it'll take a moment. There'll be some shock. Probably some tears. I had both in my case, and that was just for me, let alone everybody else. And just let them be in the moment. And it's hard for them. So I hope you don't also think that it's all their fault that they're like this. It's not. I mean, we get messages from everywhere. And so they may feel, especially if they're more liberal parents, they might wonder, why on earth you took so long? They might wonder, what did I do to make you not trust me? I mean, these are some of the thoughts that people think is, how could you lie to me all this time? How could you do this? How could you do that? And the reality is, it's not about them. But in that moment, it is. And that's the thing to remember, is it's you coming out, but ultimately it's not really about you. It's about them. It's about you opening up in a way that allows them to see you for who you are and find a way to be okay with that. And that's extraordinarily difficult, but we're better together. And this is true of any community, any family, any friend group. Some of us are flour. Some of us are butter. Some of us are salt. But the truth of the matter is, it would just be nasty to eat those things. But you put them together in a nice little dough ball. I know it's a bit of a hokey cliche, but it's true. We are better together. And there are resources out there. This web video is just one tiny speck. There are countless organizations. And the one that I've been most impressed with recently is called the It Got Better campaign. They do a lot. Another one is the Trevor Project. They work mostly with youth at risk of suicide. So like I said, I pray that you're not at that point. That get help before you get to that point. Please, for everyone's sake, including your own. But there's a lot of resources out there. And I'll try to make some more videos on the subject, as well as other subjects, as we move forward. And I try to do these videos in different contexts, in different rooms, in different houses, in different places, just to kind of mix it up so it's not quite so boring and sitting in a blank room. Sometimes I probably should be in a padded room, but that's another story. So we are truly better together. And so please, to the extent you can find it in your heart, to love your family, to love your friends, to love your world enough to risk blowing it up for them to see the real you. Because what you're doing, you're risking the world as you know it. And that's not to be taken lightly. And no one should ever take that lightly. And anyone who looks down upon you for going about this timidly is far more bombastic than I am, and a lot of other people, because a lot of other people struggled and lived in the shadows and lived in fear of retribution, basically, for years until we stepped forward in faith and came out. So I just want you to know there are people out there who love you. There are resources out there that can help you. And if you need anything like that, there's only so much I can do. I'm just one guy, and I live way out in the middle of the desert. But there are lots of resources out there. There are lots of organizations. And so if you're having trouble finding something, just leave a comment. I'll read the comment, and I will figure out some way to get back to you with a suggestion or an idea of something that you might do that would improve your life, that would improve your relationship with your family and with yourself. So please do not let fear hold you back. It is well worth stepping out in faith, as it were, and doing this. So I hope that this video, it's a little rambling at times, but I hope that it impresses upon you the importance of coming out and also how to go about it. Just a few suggestions to think about and to take under advisement as you're considering how to go about it. Because only you know your family. A lot of families have some very similar traits. Others, not so much, or quite different, I should say. But you know them. You know what will work. You know what words to use. Just have your heart in the right place and go for it. And just stop letting fear ruin your life. Thank you for tuning in to the Thoughtful Gay Southerner. That's my 2 cents. And also how to make a pie crust. What you do, 1.25 cups of flour, dash of salt, stick of butter, cut the butter in, make slice, put it in there, add some water, make a ball, stick it in the fridge for 20 minutes or so, roll it out, and voila, you have a pie crust. Thank you, Julia Child. And thank you for joining us. And hopefully next time there'll be more.